haven't heard a word from Canelo Alvarez in a very long time. I mean, are you guys paying attention to what's really going on?
There's a lot of detractors out there for Alvarez because he's attained so much popularity so early in his career.
You're gonna hear a lot of negativity about Canelo.
There's the view that he's had a lot handed to him in boxing.
When he called out Kovalev, guess what everybody was saying? Oh my God, he's going up to light heavyweight to fight Kovalev. That's dangerous.
Who's really left? Think about it. Who's left? If we're talking about...
You got Callum Smith?
There we go.
And what a contrast in emotions. Callum Smith fulfills his championship destiny.
Hell of a fight. And that is a tough fight for Canelo Alvarez. I just want to point that out there because people are going to say, oh, who's this guy? No, he's a real threat.
Lord Groves trapped in his own corner. He's got a minute and 14 seconds to survive. He's in real trouble. And a left hook has wiped him out.
Well, Callum Smith's the best 168-pounder in the world. You know, he's a WBA super champion, he's a Ring magazine champion. It's strange, isn't it, that Canelo's the challenger?
With that being said, Canelo Alvarez goes out there and beats Callum Smith in a spectacular fashion. He will get the credit he deserves for that win.
That's why I asked the question, can Canelo do this?
Me gusta sentirme presionado, me gusta sentir que tengo un reto enfrente, ¿no? Para motivarme.
You know, Canelo is such a big star, arguably the pound-for-pound top fighter in the world.
He chose to fight the world middleweight champion in Daniel Jacobs. And a few months later, he chose to fight the WBO light heavyweight champion in Sergey Kovalev. And now, a year on in his next fight, he's choosing to fight the number one 168-pounder. So, he's fearless.
Smith es un muy buen peleador, ha demostrado que en las 168 libras es peligroso y le puede ganar a cualquiera. Es por eso que se está enfrentando al mejor boxeador del mundo, libra por libra.
I did not think he was going to fight the top guys at 168.
How many
Here
fighters?
He goes proving us wrong again.
How many middleweights have done that since Roy Jones Jr.?
No, pues son peleadores difíciles y a mí me gustan los retos, ¿no? Por eso es que quise esas peleas.
There is no other middleweight going up to light heavyweight to challenge anyone.
Es lo que me gusta, ¿no? Sentir un reto, sentir algo que me ocasione, que me esfuerce en mis entrenamientos y seguir con la mentalidad de seguir, obviamente, haciendo historia. Eso es lo que me gusta y por eso me gusta tomar los retos grandes.
Porque pues después de un año sin pelear, todo lo que se suscitó en el equipo, los retos que vienen, pelear, ser agente libre, demostrarle al mundo que Saúl es el mejor boxeador del mundo.
Pues mira, yo siempre me he creído el mejor peleador del mundo desde que iba empezando, ¿no? Te la tienes que creer para hacerlo. Fíjate que gracias a Dios, pues soy una persona de mentalidad muy fuerte y sé cómo lidiar con todo esto. Siempre va a haber alguien que opine diferente y que no le guste de cómo peleas o cómo haces las cosas. A todos los deportistas, a todos los que están arriba, de cualquier ámbito, pues les pasa. Y ahora sí que, como dice por ahí, no, preocúpate cuando no hablen de ti.
Slip, bang, and he went. And if he just carried through, it would have caught him. Slip left uppercut. Shot. Good. Again.
Every ranking puts me number one in the world, whether it's BoxRec, Boxing News, ESPN, they all have me number one.
If you go through Callum Smith's career, every time he's delivered.
I've I've always believed the better the opponent, the better the performance from me.
I want the best names in the division. That's what I want now. I want the big names.
14 seconds to survive. He's in real trouble. And a left hook has wiped him out.
He won the World Boxing Super Series, he beat George Groves, he became #1.
Going into it, I was a slight underdog. People were picking me to lose, so that obviously made it a little bit more satisfying as well. But I knew me at my best could beat him, and I feel like that was the start of the second part of my career.
Everything's up with a hook, counter. It was great, the occasion. And then for him to become world champion and to become the Ring magazine and recognised as the #1 168, we just felt though it didn't get the platform or the success that would have done in a crowd arena. There wasn't that many eyeballs on it.
Where they're that good, it's difficult to land him the big fights because he's so big, he's so strong, he punches hard, you know, and again, it's very frustrating.
The political minefield that is boxing with networks and promoters that don't allow you.
And sometimes your career can pass you by, or your peak can pass you by.
But you know and I know is that when you get to the top of Mount Everest, you don't have long up there to breathe.
Great news for Callum is the peak is now.
It's been over 2 years now since he became a world champion, and this is the first fight that is a huge, meaningful one.
He's the #1 168 fighter that's in the prime of his career, that can punch hard with either hand, head, body, rises to the occasion.
No disrespect to the other guys who put in great performances, but he needed this kind of fight to bring the best out of him.
I'm not lucky to be in this fight. I've earned the right to be in this fight. I'm #1 in the world. He's moved up to 168 to my weight division, and so as much as he's a very good fighter and he's achieved all that he has, he's challenging me for my title, and I don't plan on giving it up.
And I don't think we've seen the best of Callum Smith. You'll need to see it to beat Canelo Alvarez because he really is a modern day great. But if anyone can do it, Callum Smith is one of those guys that has a golden chance.
This is a global pandemic. I feel like we had such great momentum going into all this. Boxing's going to be effective.
Reality is, this is a pandemic. We should be inside. We don't want these boxers to get this virus. Live sporting events everywhere has been affected by the virus.
Boxing ever recover?
When are we coming back?
To the fighters, stay ready.
What does training look like during a pandemic?
We've lived off that big event feel. The crowds, the Sweet Caroline, you know, people dressing up and having a good fun. We've worked so hard to drive the momentum of the sport, we can't let it come crashing down.
La verdad es que me mantuvo entrenando. La pandemia era lo único que podía hacer prácticamente, ¿no? Entrenar, jugar golf, estar en casa era lo que hacía. Pues soy una persona que siempre le gusta, si estoy de vacaciones, siempre le gusta correr, hacer algo en el gimnasio, ¿no? Siempre me gusta estar activo. Mi cuerpo me lo pide. Con muchas ganas de pelear, eso es lo único que me ha afectado. Pero pues, como te digo, hay que adaptarse a la situación, ¿no? Es una situación muy complicada para todos.
La inactividad creo que no es lo más correcto en un atleta, menos en un boxeador. Pero el estar en el gimnasio, el estar practicando, el estar trabajando el día a día, creo que hace un poco menos importante la inactividad.
One thing about Canelo's team, they ain't letting up, they ain't slowing down. Everybody's in the gym every day, they're all ready to scrap.
I've been training with Canelo for maybe 2.5 years. It means a lot. If you're around greatness, you're going to become great. It's making me push even harder, and it's that competitive spirit that brings to the table, you know. He's the best in the world right now.
Cuando estás tranquilo en que has hecho las cosas bien, pues no hay por qué preocuparse.
It's been different. Obviously, a lot of the gyms shut, so there was no training at all at the start. I've been one of the lucky ones who have been able to train over the past few months. As long as you can get in the boxing gym and you can run outdoors, there's plenty of different ways to get in shape. So obviously it hasn't been ideal, but you make do with what you've got. It's been challenging, but we've got round it and I'm in very good shape.
not being able to have access to facilities, swimming pools, running tracks, all that type of thing, all locked down. Not being able to get to use equipment that we'd usually use. The choice of sparring partners can't get access to. It's been hard. For Callum now, as we're getting closer to fight time, locking down the gymnasium, other fighters in the gymnasium stay away now. From a gym that was always busy and a good vibe, that's just gone now, and it's just me and Callum Smith in the gym for these 2 weeks.
Sometimes I like going to the gym, but with the COVID situation, anything I can do at home is best. It can become a bit mentally exhausting, but the less people I'm around, the better.
We're a live event company. We live and breathe live sport. Right now, it's been taken away from us. Boxing needs to return. How long are you going to wait? You've got to keep people talking. You've got to keep people thinking, keep the fighters relevant. You've got to keep exposing them to the public.
The thought of not doing it this year, some people can't get their head round. Canelo Alvarez is one of those guys. You know, he didn't want to go through the whole of 2020 when you look back on BoxRec and you see no activity. He didn't want to do that.
Obviously, Canelo has been vocal about wanting to fight Smith and win that world title. Here's a guy that is going to have to fight for the credit of the people. And that's just what happens when you're on top.
Tenemos que demostrar y seguir demostrando que somos los mejores. Para eso tenemos que ganarle a los mejores peleadores.
La gente está interesada en esta pelea y obviamente estaba en la cartera de rivales que tenemos, ¿no? Y pues optamos por Callum Smith porque, como te digo, es el número 1 en las 168 libras y pues al final es lo que quiere.
He wants to fight the champions, you know, all the time.
He was offered the same money to fight easier fights. He said, no, I want Callum Smith. I want the number 1. I mean, it's remarkable, and that's so good for boxing. We went straight in, you know, we tried to make this fight. There wasn't a lot of time.
You know, everybody's thinking, everybody's trying to get creative.
We've got to go to work now. You know, the chips are down, our back's against the wall, but we've got to keep this sport moving.
This is the fight we've been waiting for since 2019. Canelo versus Callum Smith. You don't want to miss this.
When you look at guys who have the ability and the potential to beat Canelo Alvarez, Callum Smith is at the top of that list.
Canelo's last previous opponents were between 4 and 6 years older than him. Callum Smith is the same age as him. Canelo knows he's in for a hard fight. Both want the challenge.
This fight has come at a great time for Callum Smith.
He wants to throw himself in the deep end. He wants to see how good he is.
It will take his greatest performance of his career to dethrone the legend of Canelo Alvarez.
If this opportunity doesn't come around for Callum, what is the next opportunity? So sometimes you have to grab it with both hands.
This is it. This is the best chance he'll have to win that legacy moment by beating the pound-for-pound number 1.
This is going to be a bit of a different experience. Callum can talk about in the long run. I beat Canelo, the pound-for-pound best, when the world was in a pandemic.
This is the first fight that is against another big name. I just think at 168, at my very best, I'm the better fighter. And I think I'll prove it December 19.
2 fighters, both in the prime, both hungry, both determined, both want to win. The world awaits on this fight.
You can argue what the best fight out there is for Canelo Alvarez, but at 168 pounds, I don't think there's any bigger threat than Callum Smith.
A lot of pressure on Canelo. He has risen to the occasion so many times before. Just look at his resume. He's beaten the best of the best.
Has he had his 9 lives? Is this one push one too many?
The height difference is just so pronounced, it's barely believable that they're the same division, really.
Callum Smith's going to be a tall task, pun intended, but breaking the distance and finding the range is going to take time and rounds. Just like Canelo, the first half of that fight with Kovalev, you may not agree, but he kind of struggled to get in the inside.
Sergey Kovalev is 6 feet tall. Canelo's 5'8", so that's a 4-inch advantage. He also had a 2-inch reach advantage. But Canelo caught him and knocked him out. Think about this now. Callum Smith is 6'3", so he got 7-inch advantage, and then his reach is 7.5 inches advantage. That's a huge disparity. Can he get on the inside?
This is gonna be a difficult fight, and I'm excited about this one for many reasons. As I'm telling you, Canelo's gonna have his hands full.
If he beats Callum Smith, he has to get the credit that he been deserved, for fighting these top guys.
Pues creo que todas las peleas son de preocuparse. El boxeo es un deporte, pues un deporte peligroso, un deporte donde tienes que estar siempre atento, presionarlo, tirar golpes, trabajar bien su defensa, su contragolpe, sus fintas, sacar lo mejor de Canelo para ese día de la pelea. ¿Por qué? Porque tenemos enfrente también un buen boxeador.
Un peleador como yo, con tanta experiencia, en este nivel, pues tienes que adaptarte a todas las situaciones, más altos, más bajos, medianos, como sea, ¿no? Entonces, para eso estoy entrenando, para un peleador alto como él, para un peleador inteligente y obviamente fuerte, que también lo es. Estoy entrenando para eso.
Smith va a ser uno de los peleadores, si no me equivoco, el más alto que hayamos peleado, pero creo que Saúl tiene las habilidades, tiene los conocimientos más que nada y la experiencia de pelear con ese tipo de boxeadores.
If Canelo wins, he's going to have to get on the inside. That's going to require him potentially to take a significant amount of punishment from a big puncher in Callum Smith.
Yo estoy subiendo a su zona de confort, que es las 168 libras, y pues eso genera un riesgo para mí, ¿no? Entonces es uno de los rivales más complicados.
Obviously, I've always been told over the years, and you work on a style to suit you and to work on your abilities, but you've got to be able to do a bit of everything at the highest level. Every aspect of training plays a massive part. Obviously, the boxing is the most important side of it to improve your skills, but the strength and conditioning side of it, you need to be in physical condition to be able to carry out your boxing skills for the full 12 rounds.
So even if you're tired, don't look it. Last big effort now.
Listen, we're 2 weeks out from weighing today. I just think he looks great. Had a good spar today.
And not just get any type of sparring partners, but sparring partners that can replicate things that Canelo does.
And we've got, 3 or 4 days before we get on the plane, and that's it. And like I said a few weeks ago, we've got to make every second of every minute of every hour of every day count at the moment, and that's what we're doing.
If I was just a tall back foot boxer and the minute someone got close to me, I fell apart, then I probably wouldn't be sitting here today as a world champion. I feel I've always got to improve in all different areas, but first and foremost, you've got to use your advantages, what you've been given, and mine's definitely me height. But yeah, stereotype, taller people against a smaller version, you think you've got to get inside.
That's what everyone's opinion, that's how it is. When you go in a ring, you fight a tall kid, you hit the body, and what they say is chop the tree.
Smith is, for a tall fighter, is very good up close. And he's almost at his most dangerous when his back's to the ropes, because if you think you're having success landing punches, he will catch it and counter that left hook.
Callum's a big guy, but he's got a wide torso. Canelo Alvarez is one of the best body punchers there is in all of boxing.
It'll be a good fight stylistically. I think we gel pretty well, and I'm looking forward to it. He's a top fighter and someone I'm looking forward to sharing the ring with, and this is a fight that really does excite me.
He's gone away and watched and adjusted and come back, which is good. But you couldn't miss with the right uppercut at the beginning of every round. Every right uppercut he landed.
Looking at Canelo from the outside, it's very easy to say, like, he does this well, he does that well, but I think I've got more knowledge with Canelo than most because I've been in the ring with him.
Liam Beefy Smith has never lost, has never been knocked down.
This is as big as it gets. They're fighting on the big stage now. It's time to shine.
Yeah, Liam's fight against Canelo, I remember just thinking it was such a huge occasion to see my brother fighting on the biggest stage possible.
Talk about a whirlwind, though, fighting in the United States for the first time, outside of the UK for the first time, and over 50,000 fans in a football stadium, roaring with every punch landed from Canelo. This place is buzzing. Oh, and there it is. It's
I was devastated. I lost my world title at that time, and you know, I was gutted. There was no comfort in me thinking, oh well, you lost to Canelo.
I don't think Liam gets much credit for the performance he put in that night. What we were aware of that week is what a Canelo fight week is.
A Canelo fight is different. It's a different scale. The media side to Canelo, the aura of him.
It's a sheer presence and the magnitude of Canelo and who he is.
Alvarez, most likely the most popular Mexican in the world nowadays. He carries that flag with great pride and that responsibility with great pride, and they are certainly proud of him.
Pues fíjate que cuando empiezan a gritar los aficionados Canelo, México o cualquier cosa, pues obviamente te motivas y te emocionas más, ¿no? Entonces, pues obviamente sí es un extra para mí.
A Canelo fight week's a lot bigger than anyone else's fight weeks. There's a lot more press, there's a lot more limelight, and I've been there before with my brother, so it won't be new to me. And I feel I'll take it in my stride, and it's all just about fight night for me, December 19th.
People are really hungry for this fight.
I think you've always got to believe I've got the power to wear to anyone.
Viene con esa mentalidad de vengar a su hermano.
You got the pound for pound number one in the world, Canelo Alvarez, against the number one 168-pound fighter in the world in Callum Smith. It is the biggest fight in world boxing.
No, va a ser una gran pelea sin duda, ¿no? Porque tengo un rival muy fuerte, muy inteligente arriba del cuadrilátero, pero obviamente me visualizo ganando. Me visualizo ganando, haciendo una pelea muy inteligente y obviamente ganando ese otro título, primero Dios.
Definitely it's a huge opportunity, but if I've worked hard to get to the position I am, I believe I deserve to be here, and I believe December 20th I wake up still a world champion.
What a fight this is set to be. December the 19th, after a rough year for everybody and a rough year for all sport, boxing leaves on a high. Fantastic fight between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Callum Smith for the WBA Super and the Ring Magazine World Championship, the battle for 168-pound supremacy.
The fight we've been waiting for, we're finally getting it December 19th.